It was Don Croft that really set me on the track of making orgone generators, My first purpose was, okay, I'm going to make these orgone generators, and I'm going to go out and toss them near every cell phone tower that I could find. So one day I realized, why don't you make them aesthetically pleasing so people can have them in their homes, in their living rooms, and on their night table and so on, because this is good energy. This is kind of energy that everyone needs. The pets, the plants, everything in your living environment would benefit from having a few orgone generators around. We're talking late 40s, early 50s. And his headquarters was in Wrangell, Maine, where he set up his shop. He would build these orgone accumulators, which were wooden boxes that people could sit in, close the door, and the inside was lined with steel wool and cotton batten, and steel wool and cotton batten, organic and inorganic, like our orgone generators, metal and resin, attraction, repulsion. Wilhelm Reich found out that orgone exists everywhere in the universe. It's everywhere. And it particularly accumulates in heavy doses around nuclear generating stations. Very, very much so. But that's another story. So, people who had health challenges had heard about Wilhelm Reich working on curing whatever ails you. He has these boxes. Go and sit in it for a while and see if that makes any difference in your health challenge. So, because he had quite a bit of success with this, a lot of people had very good success with their health crisis, with their health challenges, by sitting in these orgone accumulator boxes, that the word got out, word of mouth. If the hospital can't help you, what do you got to lose? Go check out with Wilhelm Reich at Wrangell in Maine and see what he can do. So, as that word started to spread, as usual, the AMA jumped in. They do not tolerate competition. So they charged him with a silly, stupid charge. One of his assistants had taken one of these orgone accumulators from Maine into another state. So now they charged him with transportation of a medical device across interstate lines was the charge. Can't do it. It's a bogus charge, but they had to nail him on something. So it wasn't even his fault. One of his underlings, he didn't realize it, had taken one of the accumulators and taken it to out of state to use some people who were interested or whatever. So anyway, that's the charge. So they put him in jail for 2 years, locked him up in 1955. In the meantime, they raided his home, his offices at Wrangell, Maine, his labs, destroyed everything, gathered it all up, went to the New York, not crematorium, but where they burn trash, burnt all of his papers, all of his books, all of his notes, destroyed it. Now, this is what they accused the Nazis of doing in 1938, 39. The American medical community was doing to this researcher. The story is never told unless you're interested in this sort of thing. You would never know about what Reich had done. And Reich was a brilliant man. He wrote on sex books. he was particularly interested in the orgasm. That's where orgone comes from, the word orgasm. Yeah, because during orgasm, there's an exchange, a huge energy exchange that happens throughout your body, and that's why it's such a high. That's why people, enjoy orgasms, because it's the ultimate. There's a huge energy exchange happening at that. So, and Reich was mentored by Sigmund Freud. So was Carl Jung. They all worked for Sigmund Freud at one time, because Sigmund Freud was the head psychiatrist, the big shot in the world. So as young graduate students, they all were mentored by Sigmund Freud. But as they got to know Sigmund Freud and they had their own ideas, they realized that, no, they got to go on their own and get away from the mind programming of Sigmund Freud. He figured he had the answers. He had all the answers, and only his answers were. And of course, these guys were brilliant. They had come to other conclusions besides the ones that Sigmund Freud had, and they weren't going to kowtow and be underlings under Sigmund Freud. So they all left him after a while, and Reich was one of those people as well. So, and Freud didn't take anybody who was less than brilliant as a mentor. You couldn't get near, so you had to be extraordinary if Freud took you on and mentored you. Reich was mentored by Sigmund Freud, so was Carl Jung. These orgone accumulators was the start of what fascinated me about orgone generators. When I dug and went down the rabbit hole and did the research on that, I zoomed in. I wasn't interested in the orgasm and the sexual studies that Reich had done. I was interested in the orgone accumulators. That really interested me. So, the second generation of orgone generators came about when Don Croft, this is in the late 90s, early 200s, picked up where Reich left off. Remember, Reich died in 57, just a few months before they let him out of jail. So to prevent him from talking, I'm sure they arranged for him to have a heart attack or something. So Don Croft in Oregon was making orgone generators. That's how it got started, really. He was the one who propagated the idea of, come on, you guys, let's make our own orgone generators, and we'll gift them, and we'll take care of the cell phone towers. So I was looking for something to do, and that was just up my alley. That I would love to be able to do something to mitigate all these cell phone towers that were springing up like mushrooms back in 2003 is when I started. Now, Don Croft was the fellow that I got to talk on the phone. And he explained to me, he says, it's fairly simple. Just get yourself some industrial resin, get yourself some container, get yourself some crystals. They don't have to be pretty. Even quartz crystals in rocks will work. Put some crystals in this metal matrix, in the container, whatever container you choose. And then if you want to make fancy ones, you can arrange 4 crystals in a cross, cover them with metal, and now you have a tower buster. So all the early tower busters had at least 4 quartz crystals in a cross pattern. And then subsequently we discovered from research that no, it's not even necessary. Just one quartz crystal in metal matrix will do the job. It was overkill at first. And then with use, we discovered that no, it just takes one crystal. But you can throw as many as you like in there. If it makes you feel better and you think they're more powerful, go ahead and do it. But it's absolutely not necessary. So I used to make Tao Buster with 4 crystals in a cross pattern. The first ones that I would gift and dig holes, and then that's when I ran into the trouble with the police catching me at night, you know. It was Don Croft that really set me on the track of making orgone generators, you know. So my first purpose was, okay, I'm going to make these orgone generators, and I'm going to go out and toss them near every cell phone tower that I could find. So I did all of Richmond, and I did all the highway from here to White Rock and River Road all the way to the Alex Fraser Bridge. And this was starting to cost me some money, you know, because I was really getting into gifting, you know. So one day I realized, well, why don't you make them as aesthetically pleasing so people can have them in their homes, in their living rooms, and on their night table and so on? Because this is good energy. This is kind of energy that everyone needs. The pets, the plants, everything in your living environment would benefit from having a few orgone generators around. So instead of having my industrial types, you know, I started using crystal clear
Casting.
Polyester. I can color them. I can make different colors of them. I taught myself through trial and error how to make aesthetically pleasing orgone generators. I started in about 2005, I think, because the first few years, I started in 2003. In the first 2 or 3 years, I was just gifting. I wasn't thinking of selling any or making them pretty or anything. It hadn't occurred yet. And then when I had that insight one day, I was making some Dixie cups. Well, why don't you try making a pretty one then? I said, okay. So that led me down that track, and I've never stopped since. I lost count. I stopped counting how many I made. All I know is since 2013, by 2013, I had done over 25,000 fancy OGs. That's not counting the ones I gift. There's hundreds of those. I don't even count those. So by 2013, when my friends moved to Toronto, I didn't do all that much in the way of selling OGs. I always made some, but they kept piling up in my living room. So that's how the universe works.
Yeah.
You have to have faith, put out the thought that you need help, that somebody will come along who has the skill and the knowledge and the desire to want to sell these things. I stopped counting how many cars I've had when I had 25. I said after that, I'm not counting anymore. Because I used to go through cars every 2 or 3 years. I'd have a different one, you know. But with OGs, yeah, I have no idea. I'm sure I'm approaching 30,000. And I've given lots away too. I'm always giving lots away. Tell a few of my friends, I said, come, I have another 3 or 4 you can pick up. And they know people, and they give them away to people who need them, but cannot afford to buy them, you know. And I said, pass it forward, that's okay. And they appreciate it, and certainly the recipients, when they get a big OG, they're really thankful, you know, to have one, because they could never afford to buy one. And I love to give them away anyway. That's the story in short with how I got into this, and it was wonderful because I needed something to do. I need something to burn off my energy and my ideas, and above all, I want to do my little bit for mankind. What can I do to make a difference? Mm-hmm. Everyone has a skill and a talent. Just find out what it is and make a contribution. And mine, I was sincerely looking for something. What can I do? What do I want to do? And when I discovered orgone generators and Don Croft, click. I said, that makes sense. I can do this. I'm going to do this. And it had nothing to do with making money. Nothing to do with making pretty orgone generators. Had to do with making these things and gifting them. And that's what I did for the first 2-3 years. That wasn't my original intent. It would never occurred to me that I would make them and sell them, that people would want to buy them.